going to show stuff early rather than late?
That's up to you.
Because otherwise people don't get sick because they switch off at the last 5 minutes.
They do and they don't. So most people that are here stay for the whole thing.
We're on an advertising roll now.
Yeah.
We've got to let people know.
There we are. I'm just over at Facebook switching my stuff to public.
Oh, Glenn's turned into a lump of rock. Itself.
Has he? Oh, he sure has. There he is.
Back. No, it's not a rock anymore.
It was just that big fella.
It's not a rock.
Just think. What you've got to understand is that guy there is as big below the ground as he is on top. I'm 6'1". I'm 6'1". So that's probably about 18 feet tall, and he's 18 feet down as well.
Yeah. So isn't the mystery of did they bury them or is it sediment?
It's a bit of both. They were standing them up. They were they're on these things called Ahu, which is a platform that they're on. So it's a bit of both.
Yeah. Okay.
They weigh that fellow weighs about 60 tons.
Do you think they're older than they're suggested?
Yeah, I think they're a lot. I think they're as old as the pyramids, which is a million years.
A million years. I mean, I reckon the pyramids are maybe tens of thousands. Mm-hmm. The big ones, the big ones. But even if they were discovered, even if they were built, by the Egyptians, the Sphinx, from what I've understand, was it Robert Schoch's work on geological rain wearing the rock and whatever. It could be as much as it could be as much as 30,000 years old.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
At least I read something where they said the guy reckons that the Sphinx is older than the pyramids.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, by a long way.
And not built by any Egyptians, so to speak.
No, and the theory is that
on its head.
Yeah, the face has been recarved. Yeah.
There's some great stuff out there to read about.
Same people who made the Sphinx were the same people who made that one on Mars.
The face on Mars might have been.
Yeah.
Barsoom.
Barsoom's, all 6
Give you a little
with large tusks. Yeah.
A little tie-in here to Jack Kirby in comics, which is relevant. Jack Kirby wrote and drew a story I'm not sure, in 1958 about the face on Mars. And the first time, 1958, and the first time we saw it was in 1976 when Viking flew over.
Yeah.
Figure that one out.
Or we're all living in a shared reality, and he simply planted the seed that we saw later. Everything's consciousness, guys. Everything's consciousness. Yeah. There is no matter.
And what did George Harrison say? Life flows on within you and without you.
Yeah, that's right.
There's no such thing as time. It's all happening at the same time.
There is only now. There you go.
Yeah. It's always
and now's the time for Halo Jones Book 3.
There we are.
What a segue. Should put us on the radio, which is not a good idea because I just end up swearing or something.
They know we're on a 6,000-year disaster cycle.
Yep.
And the last time was that big flood that everybody says happened.
Mm-hmm.
And they got visited by the previous civilization that figured out it was coming and decided to hide. I don't think there's extraterrestrials either. I think they're all interterrestrial.
You think they're all 15 feet tall, living in Antarctica?
No, 12,000 years ago, we knew that the crap was coming for the Earth because they theorize now that the Earth flips 90 degrees every 12,000 years. There's a major disaster every 6,000 years, and it flips 90 degrees every 12,000 years. And the last civilization was almost as advanced as us, if not more so, and probably a lot more so in certain areas. We figure that they knew harmonics. They knew how to take sound vibrations and move large objects and literally melt stone because they found all of those civilizations that were dug deep buried, and they can't find where they took the debris from when they dug out. They just went through and melted these entire huge complexes under the earth.
that's what happened at the Walls of Jericho. Everybody went and made a massive noise and
harmonics again.
Down. Yeah.
Yep.
Vibrations and all that.
Yep.
And the Jam wrote about that.
And the Jam wrote about it as well.
They're figuring that there's a seed of truth in all of the legends, space gods, and all of this. That there's stuff that happened. They came down. The previous civilization came down and told the people that were here how to farm, how to do, organize, how to make cities and all that. But before that, there was an entire system they're figuring now that where they had free energy, like what Tesla wanted to set us up with. And the pyramids was part of that. That's why every big, huge civilization all have these huge pyramidic structures. Yeah. And as far as I know, nobody's bothered to really dig into them to see what the hell's going on. They're just
there's supposed to be a bigger pyramid.
They'll polish them up, let the tourists come by and see them, and that was about it. Yeah,
a bigger pyramid than the what is it, Khufu or whatever the big one's called in China.
Yeah. Oh no, they're all over the world.
China.
There's a couple in Antarctica too. Back, when before the Earth twisted, they are everywhere. Yeah.
So when the Earth tilts 90 degrees, does it? How long does that take?
They have no idea because it's never happened in our recorded lifetime.
So all I can do
is 5 minutes or 5 years.
The poles swap regularly. The poles swap regularly. The magnetic poles, and that apparently does nothing. Or very
bloody poles again.
Yeah, the bloody poles.
Well, they figure there's an intergalactic sheet like that of waves that are coming out from the galactic center, and that has something to do with the magnetic poles and then the shifting, because for whatever reason they figure Neptune's already done it, and it's just slowly kind of coming this way. So they're watching all of these planets. There's all this weird stuff happening out in the galaxy that they can't explain. The red dot in Jupiter's disappearing. The just weird stuff going on Saturn right now that they can't. They look at it. Well, all we can do is guess. All we can do is put a big telescope up there and point it, or have a little piece of machinery drive by and film it, and then try to guess from what we're seeing what's going on. And we've got so little knowledge about how the world works. It's scary and spectacular at the same time. Just crazy stuff. But anyway, sorry. Didn't mean to get off the subject. Here we are. There's people in the house already.
Show.
Levi's up this morning. Good morning. Happy to catch the show live again.
It's the crazy show.
It's the crazy show. What's up, guys? First time here. Nope. Second time. Oh, first time here. Werewolf by lunchtime. There we are.
Hey, werewolf. Oh.
Hey. Levi says, my brain said the show was going to be pre-recorded this morning. Happy that my personal reality was incorrect. Sunday's show will be pre-recorded.
Yeah.
We take a good look at what did we look
at? Corto Maltese.
Corto Maltese, yes. Hugo Pratt.
Corto Maltese.
The Corto Maltese. HR is in the house. Hello, HR. Werewolf says, I love the Jam. Have the CD box set. Okay.
Jam.
Yes, Jam. We're going to run the opening, folks, and then we'll get right at it. We've got some great comics to look at. And that's the right one right there. Yep. Here we go.
What was that? This is not a charade. We need total concentration. Now, once again, this time, with theory.
It's never a charade, and it's never duck either. So there we are. Glad you're here, folks. I'm your host, Randy Zimmerman. You can find some of my comic book work over at arrowcomics.store. Almost the majority of it. The stuff that I really want to show off. Stuff like HeroBot Zero and Paragon Calico. There's now merchandise and mugs that you can even buy over at arrowcomics.store that have the Arrow Comics logo on it. We're a group of creators that have decided to get together and try to promote each other and do the most entertaining comics that we can possibly do. and we're really proud of every book that's available over there. And there's a lot more than my work over there as well. There's Luke Stone's Hybrids, there's Soul Tack, there's Rift Riders. There's all sorts of great things and a lot more stuff on the way. Just like the Shadow Kingdom here, which is the latest book that Russ and I did together. I adapted Robert E. Howard's story, and Russ adapted it into artwork. And it's a great book. It's a fun book. It's a great story. And we're using this as a springboard to start another series called The Atlantean that I'm sure Russ will show you a little bit of here in a second. But right now, we also want to welcome Glenn B. Fleming here this morning. It's 5 a.m. where I am. It's what, 9, a little
10,
after 9 a.m., 10 a.m. where they are, where Glenn and Russ is. And here's Glenn. Glenn, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name's Glenn Fleming. I'm a writer, artist, and publisher. I've got 12 books in print on different subjects, from sport to manned space flight, JFK, kids' books, travel books, humor books, all kinds of things. And you can find those on Amazon. I also publish magazines like this one, Comics Limited. Issue 16 is coming soon. And today's topic is Halo Jones, and there's also an article I wrote about that series in issue 11. You can get those on Amazon as well. But yeah, if you just look around, you'll see all the work I've done. Been around quite a while, so a lot to go at. Just put my name in Google and you'll find it.
Here we are. Yep. Also with us is Mr. Russ Leach. Russ, introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name's Russ Leach. I am a comic book artist from the UK, and I'm currently working on The Atlantean with Randy Zimmerman for Arrow Comics. And you can find out all about that, all about the production on that, by signing up to the email list, and we'll send you out an email once a month. And when crowdfunding is ongoing, which should happen around the end of September, we're really pleased with the production and the progress so far. And I can't wait to get that out to people. I've got a couple of pages you can see right now. If we share the screen,
I will. Give me just a sec here. There we are.
Here you go. So this is just light penciling, a little bit of shade, and the inking will be similar to the Shadow Kingdom. I've been complimented, I have to say, that my inking is a little bit Ernie Chan-like. So I'm very pleased about that, obviously, to be compared to such a fantastic inker. So that's how that will be produced, and you'll see more of that soon. So like I say, if you want to see more of that, if you want to find out about the production, get onto the email list so you can be part of the crowdfunder and get the special version, which is always special in crowdfunding. It will go out to retail afterwards, but you get a special version for crowdfunding. If you want that, get onto the email list, go to russleach.com and sign up. Okay.
All right. He said adjusting his camera one last time. Halo Jones, folks. Got the Ballad of Halo Jones. We looked at the first 2 books quite a few months ago. And then now it's time for us to look at book 3. And the way I've got book 3 is in this full color omnibus edition. So if you want to see the first 2 books, you can go back and take a look at those episodes that we did.
Yeah, the original was in black and white in 2000 AD. It should be mentioned.
Yep.
Did he paint this, or is this coloured after the fact?
This is coloured after the fact.
All right.
And you can tell.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's the way it is. Sometimes the color gets a little distracting. Colors for this were by Barbara Nasenzo. Of course, Alan Moore wrote it. The great Ian Gibson did the artwork on it. Lettering is by Richard Starkings. The first 2 books, Halo was a young teen whose main interest was going shopping in the Loop.
Yeah, the Loop was a leisure centre that was moored off in orbit off the with the tow line, I guess you call it, going down to Manhattan. So it's sort of in captured orbit with Manhattan. And it was going to originally be 9 books, but Alan Moore surprisingly fell out with the publisher and didn't produce. I do know that Ian Gibson has always wanted to continue the story. I mean, it's nearly 40 years since this came out first.
Yeah.
And he's always wanted to continue it, but now, of course, he can't because he's not with us anymore, which is a shame, I think. But and I really wouldn't. I don't think another artist could do it, really.
No.
Even if Alan Moore wanted to write it, which he obviously won't. But
the style is intrinsic, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the same. To me, it's the same thing with Watchmen.
Yeah. It's got to look like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like that with a lot of Moore's work. He'll go out and find one person he thinks is perfect for the what he's working on, and then the two of them will, and it's got a very distinctive look to the artist's style. The artists are very distinctive looking.
I have to say the colours aren't terrible, are they? They're quite complimentary on this first spread, anyway.
I think they get a little distracting here and there.
Oh right, okay.
And you lose a lot of that great detail.
Yeah, my opinion would be to leave it in black and white.
No, I mean, I'm with you on that. I'm 100% with you on that. I'm just saying it could be worse.
Yes.
Oh, yes. That's very true, too. Be a lot worse.
Although, with inks like this, I'd be tempted to go flat colours.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that the more texture, the more ink you lay down, the more really you should go towards, just if you're going to colour it, flat colouring it, because it enhances the inks. It helps them rather than distracts from them. But as soon as you start getting into lots of graduations and like some people like Frank Cho has got that lovely open style, and if you've got a colorist who really understands art, who understands form and anatomy, then actually the two together can become beautiful. But if you've got quite a rendered style like this, put in lots of graduations and effects and what have you, it just makes it a bit of a mess.
I also think that it's wrong. It's just my opinion. It's wrong to, or it's not wrong. It's not a good idea for me to colour something that's 30 years old. Now we all know that Ian Gibson has coloured drawn and coloured some covers on this. If he'd have done the thing from the beginning in colour, or at least if he would have coloured it later.
Yeah.
But I think it's wrong to get, not that this is bad at the moment, but like you say, like I said, I think it's not a good idea to have somebody colour it 30 years later.
I think the other thing is that Ian Gibson, if he was colouring it, wouldn't have done it digitally either, would he? He'd have
hand painted it,
coloured it, or whatever it's watercolour he uses, isn't it, or inks?
I think it's watercolour.
Yeah, and it would have had a particular look to it, and he would have controlled that. Whereas somebody else colouring it, that all they can do is their best. They can't reach inside the mind of the original artist.
No,
true. The second book of
if you're not going to colour it yourself, if you're not colouring it yourself, and you're not necessarily aiming it for it to be coloured, then you ink slightly differently.
Yeah.
Which means if somebody then comes back at a later date and starts putting in grads and all kinds of stuff, all it does is fight the inks. It doesn't actually help in any way.
Yep.
Absolutely. The second book of Halo Jones, she became an employee on the, Cora Panda, interstellar ship that was traveling the galaxy. Along the way, she meets a few people.
I remember. Yeah.
Becomes...
she was a stewardess, wasn't she, on the Clara Panda?
Yeah, Clara Pandy. Yeah.
Yeah, and because a friend had been murdered in the first book.
Yeah.
And we won't give it away as to who the murderer was, but that's revealed in the second book. And then she decided that she'd had enough of Earth and got a job on the Clara Pandy cruise ship up in space.
Well, it lands, and she gets out, and it leaves. And she's on this one world, and she hops a couple of worlds, And 10 years pass. So this is 10 years after the second book.
Yeah.
And she's,
the first 3 books cover 10 years of her life, because the original run was going to be 9 books, and it was going to take her to being an old lady. So it's going to be her entire life from 18 years old, which would have been quite interesting to see that develop, but we'll never know.
She has a very important, very long life that, initially starts out as insignificant and then gains as we go along.
Yes, gets really famous or something, doesn't she?
Well, they showed a little prologue in the second book where they were having a college level course where they were talking about her life. And there have been books written about her. That's why this is the Ballad of Halo Jones.
Yep.
Yeah, instead of just Halo Jones.
It's the coloring. For me is a bit too dark.
Yeah,
as Russ was saying, it was clashing with the line work. I think, and losing
detail. Yeah,
it's a bit distracting, but
wonderful line work as well. Look at it. I mean, it's just there's so much life in it. Yeah. I wasn't. Again, it's Ian Gibson's work. I've come to appreciate more later on. Flicking through 2000 AD, Ian Gibson's work didn't speak to me in the way that Bolland's did. But looking back, like in more recent years, looking back at it, I can just see how gorgeous it is, and how full of life and energy it is as well, which is, as I get older, is the more important thing to me about comic book work, is the life and the energy that you get out of it, rather than maybe the precision or the specific anatomy or whatever. Somebody like Bolland has all of it. Okay. But looking at people like, I know I can measure it with like Kirby, or
I'd say that Ian Gibson is an acquired taste, like Kirby and Ditko.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
And I also think that.
Go on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
and it's just later on in life that I've found it. It's just maturing. This is growing up.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
I think there's also an important point of this particular series is, like many other series. How can I put it? I wasn't too enamored with Ian Gibson's work on Judge Dredd, but that's probably because I didn't think it was as good as Bolland or Cam Kennedy.
Yes,
right. Mm-hmm. And then this story came along, and I can't really see other than Ian Gibson drawing it.
Yes. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
It fits perfectly.
Did Ian Gibson do Robo Hunter as well? Did he do some of that?
Yeah.
I was just going to say there's so many strips in 2000 AD where the initial artist is the artist on that, and the
like
look
Cam Kennedy on Rogue Trooper.
Carlos Squera on Strontium Dog. You just can't see anybody else on that work.
Yeah. And yet, weirdly, Judge Dredd had several artists that you could look at them and say, I mean, for instance, Carlos Esquerra started off Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, for me, Bolland is forever Judge Dredd, the Judge Dredd artist. I can't get past Bolland.
No, I quite agree. Although I do like Cam Kennedy's work, but I like his work generally anyway. And Ron, what's he called? Judge Dredd, and they do the strip. Ron Smith. Ron Smith. That was I enjoyed that. That was good as well.
Ron Smith was like, I wasn't sure of his work. I mean, again, it was like being younger. I'm like, what? It was incredibly dynamic all the time. The line work was just gorgeous. Mm-hmm. But there was something about the way he drew people sometimes that kind of just put me off. But I'm past that now.
You finally got there.
I finally got there, yeah.
For me, with the art form of comics and the way that it's structured as the business and the corporation and all of that, you've got like little points in time where you've got somebody that's up there in the offices that knows enough about the work that he's doing and has enough appreciation for the art form that they go out and they find the best individual stylists that they can at the time in order to work with them. I think Bill Gaines was like that, and he is a great judge of talent. not just with the EC books that he did, your Tales from the Crypt and Weird Science and that, but also with Mad. And we've talked about that in the past, where he's gone out and found the best, most individual cartoonists to work in that book. Because when you mention Mad, you get this whole flurry of images, the Mort Drucker caricature, the Phobius Spy versus Spy, the Don Martin Flabadap, just hilarity, Dave Berg, Slice of Life work. 2000 AD and Pat Mills was one of those points, where he went out and found the best, most individual stylistic people that he can. And Ian Gibson's part of that, Esquire, Bolin, Ron Smith.
I never thought I'd hear myself saying this, but I think Stan Lee did that with Marvel as well.
He did.
I was about to say, I think early Marvel and mid Marvel, that was what was going on. They were looking for the best of the best.
Yep.
To really produce fantastic comics. Yeah.
And being in New York, they were able to pull from advertising. Yeah. That's why you got your Remitas and your Buscema.
But that's why things have changed. Nobody draws for advertising anymore.
Very true. Yeah.
The illustration, the market for illustration is completely different, and certainly people don't. I mean, it used to be at one point that it was cheaper to get an illustrator to draw, a mum and a child and say this is Fairy Liquid than it was to set up a studio and shoot the shot.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where we drift into things like AI, where it becomes so cheap to produce something that people forget the heart and the effort that goes into it. And you're driven by money. You're driven by quicker, faster, easier to produce, quicker, faster, easier to produce, more profit. And slowly the soul gets taken out of everything.
Yeah.
And that's where, when you hear, like, I don't know if you heard is it Capernet? I can't remember his name. The guy that took the knee in football.
Oh, yeah.
He's got like $4 million and he wants to start making AI comics.
Yeah.
So he's got $4 million and he wants to make AI comics. It's like this guy is a product of the modern world. Screw you. Okay. Yeah. That's we're losing our soul. We're losing our identity. Half the reason, comics, back then you didn't have video games, you didn't have AI, you didn't have the internet and all the rest of it. I understand all that, but comics were still great entertainment and people loved them. And they loved them because they were connecting, they were human, they connected with people, they're telling stories, and now the humanity's been slowly taken out of everything, including the writers, because I think there's a lot of hacks out there at the moment. And it's painful to see, but hopefully, fingers crossed, the market will change and there'll be a renewal for humanity, a renewal for human things, and not so much of a focus on how big the profit can be, and a small profit or a modest profit will be enough, and somebody will come together and find those people again, find those talents, and make a business out of selling heart and soul instead of old dead AI.
That's why it's sequential art,
Yeah, beautiful sequential art made by people for people. That sounds like an advertising slogan to me.
It does, it does.
Made by real people for real people. There you go.
We'll use that.
I mean, look at this. You can look past the muddy colours on the right-hand page. It's just the inking is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and the artwork and the everything just tunes up the farther along you go on this work. Ian gets tighter, and the writing gets deeper. There's a lot going on here that more hints at that he meant to follow up on in the later books. A lot of foreshadowing at work here. Yeah. Waking up hungover to an enlistment call. People are looking for people to join their army.
This things with the tails, they're funny.
Tarantula rising. She meets a character that she got to know pretty well in the last book. And she's gone out, Toy has gone out and become part of this Army Corps. They're all out looking to recruit more. And she ends up recruiting Halo Jones because she's not doing anything anyway. She's trying to get a job to get off of that rock. So here's a chance to see the world. Join the Space Marines. And again, there's a little bit of detail here that you can't see right in this area.
Yeah,
it's flooded out by the color. Yeah,
it's not working this color for me.
No,
which is a shame because I've got the black and white Titan book, and well, it's just superb, you know.
Yeah, I didn't get the third book, the third Titan book. I read the first one and didn't much care for it, and I should have given it more of a chance.
It was, I think I mentioned this before, it was a stage play. I went to see a stage play with it as well. The Ballad of Halo Jones was a stage play. It was really good.
They get past the third book?
No, I don't think it wasn't. Yeah, it was published then, just published the third book. It was to do with the robot dog, Toby.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I was sitting I was watching the play in the dark, you know, like you do, and then all of a sudden something moved to the side of me, and it was a guy dressed as the dog who was going down on all fours down, and he was going around all the aisles for about half an hour. You know what the bloody hell was going on? Well, we all knew what it was, but you understand what I mean? Yeah. This guy is got this big robot dog's head on, and he's on his all fours going around and stopping next to people, you know, and then moving on. It was really good.
Michael DeFont has just joined us. Hi, Michael.
Michael, good to see you here.
Hello.
Sorry if I ruined your name then.
Yeah,
it's too muddy, this colouring. Shame. Yeah. Great gig to get though. Although a bit scary. Colouring Ian Gibson's work.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think so.
It depends. Yeah. It depends, doesn't it? I mean, if it's this 30 years later, the person that's colouring it might not even know the name Ian Gibson.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
Let alone be cowering in respect for a master. You know, like they'll be handed some Jack Kirby stuff and go, oh yeah, I've heard of Jack Kirby. Slap it on.
Yeah. Having said that, I wouldn't mind having a go at colouring this myself, but I'd be using inks and a brush, but there'd be no computer stuff on it.
Well, she gets a little watercolor graduated tone look effect here. That's a lot better than what I've seen a lot of other people painting digitally would do. But yeah, her choice of colors in certain spots just really drowns out a lot of the detail, a lot of the ink work that Gibson did. Another work of his that I know is available in large omnibus, I guess you would call it, archival form is Robo Hunter.
Yeah.
You want to see some great imaginative stuff. That strip is just crazy. It'd take a while to describe it even. One
of the things I think I notice about a great artist, certainly in comics, this is like Mobius in the way that everything is designed to be otherworldly. The clothes, even the glasses and the bottles with the wine in and stuff. That you know what it is, but it's nothing like you've seen.
Yeah, and
it's like Mobius. Mobius does that with his great design work of clothes and hats, and you know what I mean. And I think that's a great testament to Ian Gibson's talent.
It's got a feel of not of the now.
Yeah, and he's creating a world. I don't like that term, but he's creating a world where, well, you can see people are wearing clothes, but they're not clothes like you've seen before. I like that aspect of it. Mobius does the same.
Oh yeah, Michael, thanks for the compliment. Read the book, The Shadow Kingdom, and loved it. Thank you so much.
When you finished watching us, you can just rewind the YouTube videos, a couple of pages of the latest book, The Atlantean. We just in sketch pencil form. but it's a little preview for you.
Yeah, very proud of that book. So thanks a lot, Michael.
There's more coming. There's more coming.
I just got my physical copies a couple of days ago, and I hope you take the time to read the prose story in the back of the book as well. It's just
we've had some nice comments about that, actually. People saying how much they enjoyed that.
Howard at his
having
best.
having the prose in there. Yeah, it's good.
Very proud to put that in there too. So. These are in 5-page chapters because 2000 AD used to be serialized weekly. Very, very much like if you remember the old National Enquirers over here in America, all newsprint, very sparsely colored. Usually the interior center spread and the cover were in color. All the rest of the book was in black and white.
I loved it so much. Every week, weekly,
such a
every
great
week.
Book.
Oh.
And like good. I said earlier, at that time, especially through the Halo Jones period here, everybody working on the book was on their own individual titles. Were such individual artists that you would get an issue that's got Dave Gibbons on a story, on a Rogue Trooper story, then Ian Gibson on a Robo Hunter story, and Carlos on a Strontium Dog story.
Was it 77, was it, or 76?
I think it was
77.
77.
Yeah, that's why that comic, the 77, is called the 77, isn't it? Yeah, it's, I mean, 77, we were getting reruns of Star Trek on the telly. Was it, you'd gone from Pertwee to Baker in Doctor Who. Blake 7 might have been on the telly.
Yeah,
and you got the occasional black and white movie. And obviously Star Wars at the cinema. I mean, that's not, when you compare it to the amount of science fiction that's on the telly these days, that's just everywhere. We were, as kids, when obviously the Eagle comic had stopped some time before. So there wasn't much science fiction out there, and especially for kids, as it were. I mean, you had Doctor Who, but this 2000 AD was speaking to kids. It was speaking to the younger generation, and it was a special thing. And to come out every week, it was an amazing time, an amazing comic. It's dropped off now. It just doesn't. It doesn't fight the man like it used to do. It
literally past its prime. Yeah.
It turned into a bit subversive, didn't it? Really.
It was when it first came out. Yeah, subversive is the word for it. It was subversive. Like that, you have a fascist in the guise of Judge Dredd, who's a police with the power to execute criminals and to just basically judge them on the spot, and yet we all loved him.
Yeah.
We weren't fascists, but he was. It was it was bizarre. The bad guys were getting theirs, but this is, he's dressed up in leather and he's dealing out death. All kinds of stuff in 2000 AD. I mean, we've covered this before. It was incredibly subversive. It hit a vein at the time. We were just coming through punk and then post-punk at the end of the 70s. There was a lot of turmoil in the UK. A bit like now, really, at the end of the 70s. And this hit a vein, and it was fantastic. It was just, certainly it was inspirational for a lot of comic book artists and a lot of sci-fi writers, I would imagine, as well.
Yeah, there is a great documentary over on Amazon Prime called Thrill Power that's got a great a set of interviews in there with a lot of people, but mostly Pat Mills. And he talks about the creation of 2000 AD and the different stories that were included and why. And it's a very fascinating,
it's a great documentary. Very, very good. I think you get it on YouTube actually as well. So
yeah. But the thing that really crippled 2000 in the later years was their owners. Was it IPC? I think it was. decided that they wanted a larger chunk of the rights. So they started having the creators sign the rights over to their creations. And that's what really, I think, put a bad taste in Alan's mouth. I think he stopped working for him. A lot of people stopped working for him. But the work that was done before that period is just epic, just incredible, just groundbreaking stuff. All in 5-page chunks, all thrown together into a little newsprint book and put out on the stands for what it started out at 5p, maybe got up to 9p, 12p.
One of the things that
go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. Carry on.
I was going to say, and oddly, over here in the States, all we know is Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
That's about all we've seen. But there's so many other great properties like Halo Jones, Robo Hunter, Rogue Trooper, just some really incredible comics over there. We'll look at more of that as we go along. So now it's Halo.
I think it's quintessentially British.
Yeah.
In so many ways. And that's why it took its time to be assimilated by the States.
I don't know. There's just so much quality stuff that gets washed over and ignored. There's a lot of the other material in 2000 AD, I think, is so much better than a lot of the Judge Dredd material. Dredd's definitely got its high point, the Bolin material, and that Bolin barely does maybe a dozen stories at most in there. With Judge Dredd, he became so popular, they started handing him around like a hot potato to all of the different talents at the that Mills could get his hands on to do individual stories. And they had to make sure Judge Dredd was in every issue. Where in stories like this, they would run an entire run of stories once the artwork was done. All of the chapters were in. Once the story was complete, then they would schedule it in the book. But they were also working on a weekly basis too. And what was the book? 32 pages, I think, each magazine.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
A little bit more square than the American comics. No fancy cover. Long before all that, they used to put toys inside of the first couple of them and wrap them in plastic.
That's right. Yes, got to remember. Yeah.
Little stickers or games or whatever they could come up with that would fit on the shelf. They'd wrap the book in plastic and stick the toys in there. And 2000 was so popular, they tried a couple of other boys' titles that didn't quite take off. Tornado and Star-Lord was a title over there.
Yeah, Tornado was out before, though, I think.
It?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, 2000 AD won everything. It stole everybody's lunch. And then we had Star-Lord, which had some fantastic stuff in it. Like
that's really where Strontium Dog came from.
That's where Strontium Dog came from, yeah. And Roadbusters, which became ABC Warriors later on. That was a fantastic book, and I don't think it lasted longer than a year or something, and that was sucked up by 2000 AD and got folded into it. But 2000 AD was king. It just was. It was brilliant. They even renewed the Eagle comic. They brought that out again, and that got sucked up by it as well. Dan Dare ended up in 2000 AD. So,
yeah. You were saying, Glenn? Sorry,
I can't remember now. It's 10 minutes ago. It's okay.
Sorry, man.
Life's like that. I got that old now. I can't remember anything.
No. It's got little tusks here, like the Barsoomians. Yeah.
Great shot with those trees or whatever they are.
Yeah. Negative space at work. Yeah.
his character, Ian draws his character standing around a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, but always never in too stiff of a pose, you know. I was pretty relaxed.
But that's the trick of it, though, isn't it? That's where you see next level, and you see it in artists all the time.
Yeah,
that casual nature, body weight, gesture, even when people are standing still, getting that right. That's what brings a strip alive to a degree. You see a lot of stiff anatomy, and that's that it dampens down the action. I mean, there's not a huge amount going on these pages, really, but it's incredibly interesting. The cameras are changed, the angles, the way that people are holding themselves, the actions, just brilliant.
And Michael says Amazon Prime TV also has a document. Oh, Future Shock. Yeah, that's what it is. Future Shock, the story of 2000 AD. Recommend that to anybody who's interested in English comics or in comics in general. It's a great lesson of a rise and fall of a phenomenal product. So, which Pat Mills totally attributes Karen Berger to the downfall of 2000 AD for coming over and scalping all of the talent.
Yeah,
taking it over to DC for Vertigo. Yeah. He'd come over every 6 months and he'd lose people. It's a very frustrating time for him. Get that. Just love that. All of the branches.
Oh, look at that. That's lovely.
Look at the weight on him hanging on that branch.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fantastic. You can just see he's in so much trouble.
Yeah.
Holding on with one hand. And
legs wobbling away underneath. Yeah.
And he's lost his weapon.
Brilliant.
Oh dear.
There's so much detail lost here
because
of the color. And yet such a nice effect here. Little bit of almost Mobius look in the rocks here.
Yeah.
The way the inking and the feathering is. Armies of the Night.
We're quiet again. The art must be.
I know. Just looking at the art. Yeah.
Something I've noticed about Ian's weapons with these rifles these guys have, they've all. He doesn't, not like Jack Kirby. They're all the same. Ian draws the same issue, like they would have an issue, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they're all in the same army. Yeah.
Mm.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Kirby just draws a different weapon because he can't be bothered looking at the guy next to him. Just
yeah.
Especially when he drew a shield back in the mid-60s. Everybody, there's 15. Yeah. One of the covers is about 15 people on it, and they've all got a different weapon, you know.
But he didn't care. he just wanted to make things bombastic, didn't he?
It's just a weapon, isn't it? It's
just a weapon. Does it matter? Just get it down there. I'm going to make it look cool. That was what Kirby was about.
Yeah. The thing is, you see, is that I like to be accurate with weapons, real weapons.
Yeah.
Now, it's strange that Kirby would be drawing sort of real people, as it were, in the war and things like that, and they'd all have a different variation of a Thompson submachine gun. But in this strip, which is in the future, where they might have different weapons, they don't.
Yeah.
It's sort of the wrong way around.
I think it's people often talk about in discussion about how bombastic the 90s were. But, the energy that you got from the 60s and 70s in people like Kirby, it's hard to deny. It's there weren't lots of pouches and lots of extra lines, but damn, the composition was so energetic from people like Kirby. And it's hard to deny, I know, the composition of somebody like Neil Adams as well.
Yeah. Had a lot of individuals working back then, with their own unique style. It's like then there's a lot of those people we don't look at enough. Gene Colan and Jim Aparo.
Yeah. We'll get to them. We'll get to them.
Yeah. The paper stock on this book is a little funny because some of it's nice and slick and some of it's got a rougher texture to it.
I was going to say earlier, what's the paper stock like for these colors? Is it working for the color? And it's either the color application in the by the artist is too heavy, or the paper stock is taking its toll, and the printing process of doing this. But you see, the thing is that if this has been done on a computer, it wouldn't be that difficult to tone it down, would it?
No.
If it was hand painted, you have to do a lot of messing about. So it's. I think it's a mistake. I think something's gone wrong here. When I say a mistake, I don't mean they made a mistake. I mean it was a mistake to do it like this.
Yeah. And the coloring, the technique isn't terrible. It's just the way that it looks. The
reproduction isn't good.
There's some really beautiful touches here where the colorist went through and tried to do their best, but at the same time, there's such a dark mud to it, almost like the shift that you would get from RBG to CMYK.
Yeah.
Doesn't look quite right. It just comes out as muddy and dark. And some of the oranges and the purples and the browns don't quite transfer correctly. And this is an odd stock. Like I said, the paper on one side is nice and smooth.
Right.
And on the other side, there's a bit of a texture, a roughness to it. But it's still shiny. But one side doesn't feel like the other on this. I'm not sure what kind of paper they actually used. I've never run into that situation before, where you've got a nice gloss finish here and almost like a matte feel on the other side of the paper.
Right.
Nice work here.
That's a nice silhouette almost above the logo, isn't it? The side view of that girl with the helmet on.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Looks like a silhouette, I'm sure, in the camera, but there's a little bit here and here that's covered over in a dark purple.
I remembered what I was going to say earlier. We're talking about how sort of ahead of its time 2000 AD was. I think one of the things I noticed about it and really like, because it has my sense of humor. It's like a dark sense of humor. There was a lot of humor in these books, but I think that the reason it changed after about, probably mid-80s, when it had been out 5 or 6 years, is because it sneaked in under the radar because of what it was saying. Because the people who were publishing it just thought it was a comic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they weren't reading it. They weren't reading it because if you read
once
Judge
they started reading it,
yeah, it's what is this?
Oh God, we're filling all those people's heads with their own voices.
Yeah.
We're making them think.
Yeah,
good Lord. Wow, we're making these people think. That's why Gen X is what it is.
See, one of the funniest things I remember about 2000 AD was, I think it was a Ron Smith Dread, and he'd been called out with the couple of judges to an incident down in Mega City 1, and there was a guy on top. You know how big the buildings are; they're miles high, aren't they? And there was a guy on top of one, and all the people on the pavement were going jump, 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 jump,
jump. Because they were all bored because it was Mega City 1 and they were all just cramped in and nothing to do.
Yeah.
That's why they used to have block wars. We used to like throw stuff. So there's 2 blocks down at the down the road or whatever, and they've just ignited a block war, and you can see them like throwing stuff at each other across the void.
The artwork was so good. I guess this was the lettering artist, because you'd have like George Michael block and Andrew Ridgely block. And there's one that sticks brilliant. In mind. Randy might not know this guy, but you probably will, Russ. It said Judge Dredd was chasing somebody down this street, and on the signpost it said Tariq Ali Ali. Do you remember Tariq Ali? He was an activist in the 70s, and it's Tariq Ali Ali.
Ali, Tariq Ali Ali. That was that one where he was jumping. That was great because they were all going jump, 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 and he just went up there and said, "You're under arrest, citizen." He just took him down and put him in. It was like there was no. How do you feel? Are you okay? What events led you to jump? No, you're in the clanger, mate.
10 years in the ISO cube.
10 years in the ISO cube.
Yes. when the miners' strikes were on, there was what's he called, the president for life guy, Arthur Scargill Crescent.
Arthur Scargill.
Absolutely brilliant.
Arthur Scargill block.
Yeah.
I loved it when they dropped the genetic mutifier or whatever it was into one of the blocks, and it de-evolved everybody into monkeys. And there's this great cover with Judge Dredd with a bunch of monkeys on the front. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, inspired stuff. And then he got to the scientists who had made the dropped it or whatever, and they'd finally turned into amoebas or something, lizards, or I can't remember what it was. So, and then you see this bit at the end where they're all just leading all these monkeys out with cuffs on. It's just fantastic.
I'm going to have to get that box out of the loft now and go through them all.
Get the box out, mate.
Those Judge Dredd case files are available over on Amazon if anybody hasn't read them. That they have about, what is it, probably a year or 2 years worth of continuity in each book. Just some fantastic collections, about 500 pages per book. I think there's 25 case files in all. That's how much Judge Dredd material has been printed over the years. I'm sure there's been a lot more than that as well. One of my favorite early Dredd stories had to do with somebody invented a spray that you could cover yourself with, and it'd turn you into a rubber ball.
Boing. It was
Boing.
called Boing.
It was called Boing. Then they'd go bouncing through the city and causing a wrecking havoc. Dredd had to track them all down and put them in the ISO cubes for causing a nuisance.
The best one I read was when there was a guy who came out of the bar, and he reversed his car and smashed the tail light, and he thought, well, I'll just go home. And then he saw the judges driving about, and he was dodging them, and he ended up killing 20,000 people when his truck went off the road because he was scared of being stopped and getting a ticket. And he was knocking people down, but he was putting them in the cabin with him. When he reversed over somewhere, a drunk, and he was dead. So he put him in the cabin with him. He ended up driving along with about 5 people who were dead in his cabin. And then, and then he went off the road.
Was that the one where he's chasing him for dropping litter? There was this one where he just like he ran off and he caused all kinds of chaos, and when he finally caught him, he's like, "You drop? Why were you chasing me, Judge? Why were you chasing me?" It's like, "You were dropping litter, citizen. That would have cost you 50 creds and a night in an ISO cube, but because of all your other crimes, you'll be away for life."
Yeah, he killed 20,000 people. His truck went over off the highway thing and smashed into one of the blocks and killed everybody and burned everybody in it.
Here you go. If you just show my screen. There you go. No one apes the law. There's a monkey business at Charles Darwin block. Look at this for a spread.
Yeah, Charles Darwin block. Yeah.
Is that Ron Smith? Oh no, it's Mike Mahone.
No, Mike Mahone. Is it Mahone?
Yeah.
I can never say his
McMahon,
name properly.
McMahon, I believe.
McMahon, whatever. He is another major artist.
Very major.
He was just so good. He did a lot of 2000 AD as well, and ABC Warriors as well. Yeah. He was brilliant. Absolutely
went on to do Slain.
Didn't get him when I was a kid, but love him now.
Oh, that wasn't him. What McMahon? All of these guys ended up getting a specific feature that they made their own. At least one. Those great guys back during that period.
Well, it's just, you've got giants, haven't you? You got Bolland, Esquerra, Smith, the Gibson. Then you've got Mahone, Kevin O'Neill.
Yeah,
it's just the list goes on. Just fabulous.
So many great IPs as well. Just great properties. Judge Dredd's just such a small scratch of the surface.
I think the last great artist to come out of there. There were a few in the 90s when so you had like Bisley, Simon Bisley, and Jamie Hewlett,
and also the guy who did Captain Britain,
Alan Davis.
Oh yeah, Alan Davis started off there, didn't he? That's
Alan
right.
Davis,
yes, Alan Davis. Yeah. So you did have a few in the 80s and 90s. So
yeah,
Steve Dillon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Steve Dillon.
Really, really top talent. No wonder what's the face came over from New York.
Yeah, Berger would stop by every 6 months, and
But then again, they didn't have to go.
No, but the money kind of lured them away, though.
Yeah, the irony is that situation, as far as I understand it, would be that Alan Moore and people like that, quite rightly, were a bit disgruntled about copyright, so they went over to America, and the same happened there.
Yeah, exactly the same thing happened. Yeah,
only worse.
Bigger properties. I mean, Watchmen must be worth millions, tens of millions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, bigger than Dredd and everything else. But I suppose they got paid more page rate or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm on record. I'd have been happy if somebody just paid me a page rate and just said, "Do it." I'd have done that.
Yeah.
We're in a situation now where I can't do that anymore.
I think I'm not sure about this again. This is just my opinion again, but I think one of the problems may have been with all our guys going over there was that all the artists here did their own inking. They did full artwork.
Yeah.
And over there, there were signed inkers and things. Because I remember reading a Cam Kennedy strip. I can't remember what it was called. And it was inked by somebody else, and it totally ruined it. Because Cam Kennedy, all the guys on 2000 AD, but Cam Kennedy had this really, really distinctive style. And I know Kirby does and Buscema, I know they do, but they have good inkers that fit their kind of style. And I don't know who the editor was, but he didn't match Cam Kennedy's artwork up, and I can't understand why they didn't let him do full artwork, which he did on.
It's down to time, I suppose.
That's a big thing,
Yeah, I guess
time is a big thing.
But he did full artwork on and painted it on the Light and Darkness War, so maybe somebody learned from that.
Yeah.
Well, it got to a point where they weren't going to schedule a job until it was done.
I think it just comes down to
somebody was doing art, you know.
Yeah. It comes down to schedules and pulling power. So, for instance, Alex, who's I've gotten his name, Ross.
Alex Ross. Yeah.
Is it Alex
Painter?
Ross? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like his work is wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I bet it takes him a while to do. Doesn't matter how
Yeah.
quick he is, you can see the stuff is going to take time to do. All right. You're not going to do a page a day. All right.
No.
And I would imagine because he's a drawer, his page rate is quite high as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's a big budget you spend on Alex Ross. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know you're going to get a lot back, and you give him the time that it needs to do it. Whereas other artists, sorry, my cat's just decided it's going to be our lot.
You're fine. Don't worry about it.
My other artists, even if they are brilliant artists, might not be held in the same regard as, say, Alex Ross. Okay, or maybe they're just not as much of a financial draw. Okay, and so they get a shorter schedule and they get told to sit in the machine. They're just a cog. Do the pencils. We'll get someone to sort that out. We've got to get another issue out. And because of that disparity between certain artists, which in some cases perfectly justified, it means that, you know, some people just don't get to do the things that they want to do or the things that they should do. Even like you say, like a lot of those artists were used to inking their own work, and that was why it looked so fabulous. That was why it was good, because they were in complete control. And then they're taken over, like they're talent spotted by the big guys, and they come in, they go, right, 24 pages, get on with that. It's a month's work. Get on with it. We'll get someone else to ink it, and then we'll give you the script for issue 2 and get on with that. And suddenly the work doesn't look as good, and it maybe doesn't sell as well, and people wondering why. It's like, well, it's because you're not asking them to do the same thing that you talent spotted them for.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty simple.
I think it's
I think you can see that in the American work too.
Mm.
When they came over, I think there was a big drop in quality from what they were doing at 2000 AD, except for Brian Boland, who really wasn't doing a regular schedule. And they ended up hiring him to do like series of covers after a while.
Yeah, well, you see, Brian Boland would be given mini series, which meant that they could go over schedule or whatever. And the guy's a beast as well. I mean, his work is just amazing. So again, he was a bigger draw maybe than some of the others, and then got a name quite quickly. And like you say, he ended up doing a lot of covers as well.
I think it definitely affected their work, because the Esquire that was working on Strontium Dog isn't the same one that that came over here and did work in the States. It's pretty night and day.
I think wonder sometimes whether it's kind of a dog in a manger thing, in the way that like with the football, a club will buy a player and not play him, or play them out of position, and they buy him just because they don't want the other club to have him.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a certain amount of that. Yeah.
You know, so they you know, DC or Marvel or America was looking at British comics and thinking, wow, we got to get.
They're eating our lunch.
Yeah, we've got to get these guys, and they come over, then they don't really know what to do. Carmine Infantino did it with Kirby when he went to the New Gods. He didn't really quite understand, I don't think, what he had. He just wanted Kirby on board.
Yeah. Yep.
And then Kirby put New Gods in front of him, and he thought, "What the bloody hell is this?" You know,
this is bonkers. What are you doing?
Yeah.
No, that's right, and you know, you got to look at. I mean, I when I look back now over the whole period of time that I've been, you know, drawing comics, reading comics, loving comics, I feel in some ways the British comic industry has been let down by itself for not actually, and you know, you won't hear me say this often, but not allying itself with Europe, because the European comic scene is big and it's strong, okay, because of the culture around it. And UK comics, as we said before, there's been a lot of snobbery around it. It's been looked down upon, and so it's kind of shot for the money rather than the culture, and it led it towards American comics. and actually it's kind of helped destroy the UK comics industry. Whereas if we'd have been more European in the way that we did things, maybe in our approach, maybe even do more with Europe on comics, it would have helped, because their comic scene is so buoyant. And if you actually look at a lot of the work from 2000 AD, it's got a kind of a bastardized sort of half American, half European look to it.
In a lot of places,
you can see the influences from both sides deeply set within it. You can see where people have been looking at, the 60s and what have you, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and some of the greats that we've looked at over in the US, but also some of the amazing stuff in Europe as well, and the way that it's laid out, right the way down to the shape of the page for 2000 AD.
Yeah.
That's more European, and it's just a bit of a, you feel, as a comic book artist, you feel kind of like a little bit betrayed by your own business, because I feel it's gone in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm. I think you were correct when you said there's a lot of snobbery going on, and it was produced in London, and that was it. Nobody from anywhere else. And I just think that it's like, again, to make the football analogy, the England team manager is generally a nobody. He's not somebody who's going to win the World Cup and upset everybody. No. It's somebody who's going to say yes, just a yes man.
Yeah.
And that's snobbery. So they'd rather just have a yes man than win.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and a lot of the time, the art environment within the UK very much looked down upon comic book art as not being art.
Yeah,
it was for children, and it's rubbish. It's throwaway. It's crap.
Same thing over
which
here.
Is which is no. It's like, well, that's no different to saying, well, film is not a book, is it? So it's rubbish.
Yeah.
It's for the masses. It's crap.
That's like I said before.
No, film is art.
That's how 2000 AD in general, and what's he called? Mills.
Pat Mills. Yeah.
Pat Mills got in there, and then it was seen to be what he was doing. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like it got in under the radar.
Yes. When it started off, it was a real,
they didn't care. Yeah.
Grassroots thing. Yeah, and they were just like,
so.
They were selling it, and it was fine. Once they realised it was a bit subversive.
Yeah.
Well, if I remember the documentary right, he kind of walked into his boss and says, "Hey, there's not enough comics out there for boys, and we've got this Star Wars thing rolling. Let's do a science fiction comic." And they said, "Yeah, okay, go ahead."
Yeah.
That was all Overwatch he got. Other than that, he just rubbed his hands together and said, "Cool, let's punk it."
But you see, it was more of an open market back then in so many areas of the world. Yeah. It was like, well, I've got this idea. Have you? Right. Well, explain it to me. Yeah. Okay. We'll give it a go. And if it made money, that was the end of it. Nobody cared. It's like, you're making money with it. Fine. Off you go. And then things started to tighten up. People at the top started to tighten up. Bean counters. It's like, well, how much profit is it making? Is it pleasing the right people? You do know that we have investors. And then you start, exactly as I was saying right at the start, you start taking the life out of things.
Right. Well, now they've kind of gone from investors to propagandists.
Well, they still have investors. It's just that the investors are all, washed with the mind virus as well.
Yeah.
And so, you have to please your shareholders. Well, you don't please your shareholders anymore. You please your investors. The shareholders just get told to shut up. So.
Hey, we're really glad everybody's watching us live. I'm looking at the numbers. That's great. Hit that like button over there and help our algorithms out wherever you're at, will you? Deeply appreciate that, and appreciate everybody being here this morning. Looking at the Ballad of Halo Jones, book 3 in color.
You get You get everything here. You get a splash of personal opinion. You get a little bit of insight into the way we make comics, the way other people make comics. You get some great history from Glenn and Randy. They know their stuff. And then on top of that, look at the visuals. Just look at this.
Just look at that artwork. Beautiful. Incredible.
That's certainly a different exoskeleton or whatever. Suit. It's just there's no rib cage, there's no stomach muscles. It's all useful.
I keep telling folks eventually somebody's going to do a Rogue Trooper movie, or somebody's going to do a Robo Hunter movie, or even Halo Jones maybe, and everybody will wake up and go, where did all this stuff come from? This is amazing.
I thought David Bowie's son was doing the Rogue Trooper film.
That property's been in turnaround for ever.
Last time I heard, it was only a couple of years ago. It was in pre-production.
Strontium Dog. Yeah, Rutger Hauer was supposed to be Rogue Trooper back in the late 90s.
The trouble is people make these, they talk to each other in executive producer meetings, and they all go, yeah, green light, and nothing ever gets done.
Yeah.
There's just discussion ad infinitum. They look for investment money and all the rest of it. Sometimes investment money turns up, but it turns up in bits and pieces. You get some stuff done, and then suddenly the investor will say, I'm not interested anymore, and the production stops, and it all gets reset. I mean, look at what's going on with Warhammer 40k with Amazon and Games Workshop. Yeah. It's like they say they've only got 6 months left to decide the direction of it. They've had it for a year. They've been in discussion for a year or something. So what's there to discuss? Just do the stuff. But that's what I was saying. Investors, activists, people who have all got their own. It's
dip their wick into
production by committee.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was what was great about this stuff. It's like there was no committee. There was a writer and an artist, and that was it. There was a vision. Get it done.
It's a nice composition.
Lovely work.
Planet.
Yeah.
Story running inside. Book 9 or chapter 9, the gravity of the situation. Look at that. It's nice. So Ian here is really tightening his style a lot, using a lot more thicker blacks, a lot more shadows. It's becoming a more serious strip than it was in the previous books. It gets darker and darker as it goes along, and the artwork reflects that.
Look at that. Huh. A bunch of women. W-I-M, women. Oh, bar fight.
There's some faces in there. Oh, that's a caricature of Sylvester Stallone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it could, yeah, it could be. Yeah.
I reckon it is.
The crush. That is some environmental suit, like you were saying. It's pretty crazy.
I'd like to know if Alan Moore had this all fleshed out in his mind, for the 9 books. If you could have a conversation with him about it, whether he had any notes or, what if he could tell you roughly what was going to happen.
There is an interview in that documentary that we were talking about earlier on Amazon Prime, the Future Shock one, that they interviewed Neil Gaiman, and Gaiman said that he tracked Moore down and asked him how Halo Jones was supposed to run.
Right.
And he sat there and told him the entire 9 books.
Oh, so he does know then.
Oh yeah, he had it all done. He had it all laid out and all in his head before he started writing book 1.
Right.
And Gaiman said he literally cried when he told him, because it would have made, would have been one of the biggest comic book stories of all time if they had gone through and done all 9 books. He said this story was unbelievable. And that he had it all mapped out. He knew exactly where he was going with each book, each chapter. And it's just a shame that it never got to be completed. Look at that. It's all thin line, incredibly thin line, and painted different back here on a view screen.
That could be knocked back, couldn't it, on Photoshop?
Yeah, well, no, there's I think it was just thin lines here when it was done, and she just went through and painted. There's a different palette at work here, back here, to drop it back. And she's in heavy shadows anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, she might have gone through and lightened that up. I don't know if that was in gray or not. I'd have to look at the originals.
Yeah.
Is that Nichelle Nichols there, that woman at the bottom?
Here?
Uhura.
I don't know. Their sergeant, it looks like, giving them instructions.
That lovely rocks just there. Sorry, where they're looking into the... Yeah, that's just great.
Yeah. Nice panel. Nice layout in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Slow death.
Pew, pew.
That wasn't too slow. Yeah. Oof. Right there. Nice thin line work, feathering here, almost Mobius looking, that you can't see because of this graduated tone in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blam. Look at that.
What a way to go.
Yeah. Should be pumping out 2,000 pulses a second to go back and notify the cyberneticist.
Yeah, it's too muddy, isn't it? This color palette, it's taking away the artwork.
It really is. Well, folks, if you ever are at a convention and you see the Halo Jones or any of these books in just beautiful trade paperback reproductions by Titan Comics, mostly black covers, just nice square bound trade paperbacks of this work in black and white. Definitely pick them up. It's well worth the price of admission. And there's so many other great books that Titan did during that period. They did strip collections and Charlie's War out of what was that? They Were in Battle comic. Just some incredibly beautiful stuff. You can't go wrong with a Titan reprint book from that era. Just everything is great and fantastic to look at. And they did a lot of 2000 AD reprints. Go ahead.
Charlie's War again was Pat Mills and Joe Colloon.
Yeah.
Pat Mills wrote that with Joe Colloon on the artwork.
We'll have to look at that too. I've got 2 volumes of that. It's really pretty stuff. Got a collection of High Command too. That's got the stories of Montgomery and Winston Churchill, as told by Frank Bellamy. That used to run in 2-page spreads in. I think that was an Eagle, if I'm not mistaken.
It was in Look and Learn.
Look and Learn. Beautiful artwork, though. Great stuff.
Yeah,
I have to look at those too. Chapter 12, The Fast Forward War. I'm just going to keep turning here. We got a half an hour left.
Yeah, just keep going.
Still a little ways to cover. It's a nice face.
The story gets darker and darker, doesn't it, with this?
It does, yeah.
Look at that. That's the Marine guys, the Uejima, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Putting that,
Yeah, very much so.
It was back our war. They look really heavy, those suits, don't they?
Yeah. Chapter 13, when they sound the last all clear. Very much anti-war.
Yeah.
This not just this strip, but the entire 2000 AD. But not afraid to show, the horrific side of it. Stolfin character ties back to book 2. As well, because Halo learned how to speak Dolphin while she was what are they? They've got a specific look for him, or a specific name for him.
Looks pretty mean, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Looks like he's saying, "What you talking about, Willis?"
Yeah.
Like the way that it's in like this black orb. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's Halo's translating says it meant, what have we done? What have we done to them? What have we done to ourselves? Nobody had an answer. I wanted to run up to her tank and just I don't know, cry or apologize or something, but I didn't. I couldn't meet her eyes. So she moved on with her inspection, leaving us with our embarrassed silence. If you could give conscience a shape, it would look like a dolphin. Because he's reprimanding the troops. All the while, the siren's going on.
Yeah.
Oh, 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 oh. Stood and listened, and away down the night tunnels, screens moaned. A dirge for general cannibals, dead lover, repetitive and hypnotic. It was some while before I realized he'd taken my hand. Yeah. It's a little better. A little brighter.
Fantastic, isn't it?
Breakfast in the Ruins. Snakes around him. Snakehead there. That's great. Such a different, more mature look than what she started out with.
Yeah, she's dressed for dinner there and she's got makeup on. You can tell, can't you?
Yeah.
Still a bit heavy on the colour, though.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to escape that.
No.
Not afraid to go for the exotic when it comes to ship designs either.
That reminds me of that thing on War of the Worlds that comes through when they're in the basement.
Yeah.
You know, that eye thing, looking for them.
It's very alien looking, almost a scorpion tail.
Yeah, but it does look like it's made out of metal, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
That could be the colouring, to be fair.
Back in those webs in that dream.
Yeah, the big spider. Tarantula descending. This ties back to the start of the book where she's having dreams of a large spider web.
Dreaming about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Look at those eyes at that last panel there. Fantastic, isn't it?
Some great faces, some beautiful stipple work that you might not be coming through on the camera. But this is dots in here. Just beautifully done. Like I said, the farther along in the series, it gets Gibson gets more tighter and just a lot more moodier. Really captures the essence of the strip, what they were, the intention behind the strip was. Here too, look at that. A little bit of discreet coloring really made that pop.
Look at that. End of book 3.
End of book 3.
It is fantastic the way he's changed in the 10 years of this, the span of the 3 books. So you just look older and more mature, like you say.
Mm-hmm. Not an easy thing to do.
No.
And have it look like the same character. No. Michael says, just picked up Clover Publishing's Dick Tracy, Volume 1 through 6. They took over from IDW. I'm looking for the rest of the volumes, but I will stop just before Tracy goes to space. I didn't know that they were continuing that reprint series. I've got, I think, the first 10 maybe. And then I ran across the one volume that had flat top in it at a used bookstore and picked it up. That's like, what is that, issue 42 or something? IDW going through and reprinting all of the Dick Tracy strips. Great stuff. End of book 3, folks. We get a little bit of production artwork in here.
I'd say, well, that looks so much more realistic. than his finished approach. I was just saying, but back there, the last couple of pages, she had a sort of a Ripley look to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
A mature woman.
Yeah.
Look to her, yeah. Guns, Guys, and Gore by Alan Moore.
That's great.
And it's all real loose, too. Just done, pulled out of his head.
Yeah.
Nice sketch work there. Creating Halo. This must be her older than. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got the same hairdo, but she looks a lot more mature here. This might have been farther.
That's the girlfriend, isn't it? It's got the name there. Brenna, that's the girlfriend who she found murdered.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep. You're right.
Fantastic.
It's a sample of the script. Character notes.
So we have to do something similar to this in our artisan book, wouldn't we?
Chapters 9 and 10. Yeah.
Put some extra stuff like this in there.
A couple pages. Only these were probably all. Yeah, this was all done out of a typewriter with little notes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Added to the side. Yeah, long before. Well, just as word processing was coming in.
Electric typewriter. Ooh.
Might not even be that.
No, this one looks like an actual typewriter, doesn't it? It doesn't look like an electric one at all.
Yep.
This is punched. It's not a dot matrix.
Mm-hmm. They're chapters 9 and 10. It's going through and separating pages.
So this is a bit of a Marvel method. You think about it. There's no.
There's dialogue there.
Yeah, but there's no sort of like must be this many panels or.
Oh no.
You know, must have this angle in this panel.
No, there is, because if you look on the left there on 12, it says the next 3 panels really just show Halo making her way from the barrack room.
Yeah, no. What I mean is, you can say, "Oh, I'd like a set of 3 panels doing this," and this is what is going on the page. But I've had scripts where people have said, "Right, okay, there's 7 panels. The top panel is right the way across. The next 3 panels are 3 individual ones vertical. Then there's a vertical panel. Then there's 2 horizontal panels. And in each panel, I'd like this, and this, and I'd like to be this camera angle. You know, there's none of that."
You would really have to have somebody that had a visual, so much of a knowledge of what comics are like, in order to want to take that kind of decision making away from the artist.
You'd be surprised at how many writers write
it's
like
probably
that.
a bit of assumed ego or haughtiness. I mean, when I do it, I'll see individual scenes and throw little snippets of dialogue in, or say, we'll start with a horizontal panel and then work out from there. But
but you can draw, Randy. Most writers can't draw.
Yeah. It does feel a bit weird when you have a writer that you know is not an artist give you visual. It's like they're trying to take the role of being an art director and director in a film all at the same time, instead of giving the artist the room they need to, do stuff. I mean, obviously I've had scripts like that from people as well, where they've said, look, this is the way I see it. If you've got a better idea, or if you think it works better this way around, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And so I don't have any issue with those kind of things, because you follow what they ask you for. And if you think it doesn't work, then you tell them. And 9 times out of 10, a writer will go, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, go for it. Mm-hmm. It's rare you bump into people that have that, high end description and then say, no, you cannot deviate from this.
Yeah.
See, I like what you're writing with me. Randy, because it gives me a chance to tell the story as well.
Well, even on that, I see little key bits of dialogue, and the way the scene should look in my head.
Yeah.
It's not all dialogue, so just due to time constraints. Girls, Rockets, and Monsters by Ian Gibson. 2001.
Oh, and this, it was like Michael's saying, it seems Alan Moore was very particular. He's right. But I would say if you look at this compared to what he was describing in Watchmen.
Seems Alan Moore's very particular and outright strict on how the visuals should look. Yeah.
This is less than he put into Watchmen. You look at some of the descriptions he gave over for those pages. They were very just liquid. Yeah. They were huge. Oh,
each issue of Watchmen was a book.
Yeah.
The script for Watchmen was a small book. Pardon me. But they had both, luckily they lived close to each other. They had both figured out the technique and the format they were going to use for that strip before they, got into it with the 9-panel grid and that kind of thing. There's a couple more pencil drawings here. And at the end of this, we have an interview. Alan Moore. With sketches, originally published in Ark and Sword, number 15 from 1985. Script of the full-length interview, Ian Gibson, conducted by Paul Duncan and John Jackson. Look at that, Loop Life.
Okay, look at that in black and white.
Yeah.
There's Toby the dog.
Yeah.
Bottom left.
Grr.
Toby the robot dog.
Toby the robot dog. Here's the different 2000 AD covers that she was on.
It's that caricature again. I've been in 250 fights. Don't worry, nobody loses all the time.
'86. There we are.
You're quite beautiful, isn't she, Halo Jones?
This is Ian's work. All Ian Gibson.
Look at that.
You can tell that's how he painted. That's fantastic. Probably airbrushed.
I was just thinking the same. Yeah, that guy, that samurai guy. The what's he called, the general there, Louise Cannibal. It looks like it's airbrushed, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And there, Toby.
It's from the 2000 AD Sci-Fi Special, 1985. Yeah. That's nice.
That
also
that illustration there, the drawing of Brinner under Halo on the bed, the black and white one.
Mm-hmm.
So that head, that looks like Linda Hunt in The Year We're Living Dangerously in June. That tiny lady.
Yep. She's in Silverado too.
Right.
A lot of great movies.
She's a great actress, isn't she? Fantastic.
Yep.
She won. I think she got an Academy Award for The Year of Living Dangerously as best supporting male, and she's female, but the character's a bit gender fluid. I think they call it these days.
Androgynous. Yeah.
Androgynous. Yep. Yeah. But I think basically it was a man. She
wouldn't get away with that today.
No.
Nope.
It's very sad, isn't it?
Very.
That doesn't look like Ian Gibson, does it? That last spread.
No.
It's his artwork. It's not his colors, though.
This is flat colors.
Very. Yeah. Perhaps even too flat. The ultimate edition of Alan Moore and Ian Gibson's feminist space opera. I didn't see that. It's had a female main character.
Yeah.
I guess that would make.
Oh no, that's a quote from the Bloody Guardian. What do you expect?
Oh, there you are. Yep.
It's just
full color.
It's just a feminine. It's just a female hero. That's all. It's a female hero. It's not feminist. It's a female hero. God.
Alan Moore did say though he made the character female to go against 2000 AD's macho, stance at the time with Judge Dredd and Rogue Trooper.
So all of the characters all the main characters in the book at that point were all male. So yeah, he went counter.
But that doesn't make it feminist, though.
No. I'm not saying it does. I'm just saying he went.
No. I was just saying to Randy, it does, just because it's opposite doesn't make it feminist. I mean, it's like just because Ripley was the star of Alien doesn't make it a feminist movie.
No.
Yep.
Just because 90% of the guys in Aliens were idiots doesn't make it a feminist movie. All right. Yeah. It was just, it just happened to be that was the choice.
Yeah.
So
Michael says, sometimes I wish the pencils would be published instead of being inked and colored. Yeah. Because sometimes the pencils are extraordinary. Absolutely.
Right. We agree.
I think it depends whose pencils.
That's true too.
Because nowadays, a lot of artists, especially those the top artists at like DC and Marvel, their pencils are fully finished pieces of art. And it's almost like, sometimes you look at Gene Colan's work and you think, how did anybody ink that? Because but you think that because of the flow and the way that it feels, whereas the stuff you get a lot now, it's fully finished pieces of art, and you think if somebody inks over the top of that, what are they actually doing? What are they bringing to the party, really? Because often there's no room, and that's not to say that all inkers just trace. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's very difficult for an inker to bring any personality to a piece of work that is so finished that you could just put letters on it and use it the way it is. So I think it depends on the pencils, and that's not to denigrate any of those pencilers and say it wouldn't be a wonderful book to see it in pencil. Of course it would be. But there are some pencilers, especially those that ink themselves, that do very loose pencils, or at the very least, a very sort of, they're bereft of rendering, because you're going to do all that with an ink pen or with an ink brush. So you don't put all that in. So it would be interesting to see some of them, but not all of them would be as visually pleasing, I think. So it depends. I think the answer for me is it depends.
I think in October for Halloween, I'll go through and dig up the Tomb of Dracula run.
Oh.
And show that. Speaking of, Gene Colan. Tom Palmer, some of the best cinematic horror comics from the 70s there, late 70s.
He just makes 80s. Fantastic pages. Again, Gene Colan was one of those people I couldn't quite understand when I was a kid, but damn.
Yeah, I only met him once at a show. I wish I'd talked to him longer. What a talent.
Yeah, what an amazing talent,
Yeah. Michael says Ian has great pencil work. Yes, he does. Great ink work as well. And if you want this book is available Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Maybe your local retailer could order it. The Ballad of Halo Jones, full color omnibus. It is retailing at it's $39.99.
I've already got
$50 American. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say I've already got them, but I'd urge people to look for the Titan reprints in black and white rather than that.
Yeah. Can't recommend those reprints enough. There's some phenomenal Judge Dredd reprints out there. Some great Rogue Troopers. If you want to just read Judge Dredd, those case file books are amazing because for $30 you get a huge amount of continuity. And do start at number 1 and work your way out. You don't have to, because the stories the majority of them are self-contained. You get a couple of long serials there about book or case files. 5 or 6, they start doing long-running serials like Judge Caligula and the Cursed Earth series and that kind of thing. Burger Wars, which they didn't reprint in that book, but or in the case files. But well worth your time. Any of the 2000 AD material, honestly, is well worth your time, especially anything before 2000.
Anything before 1990, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You still got some Bisley material and some fantastically painted Rogue Trooper stuff that I think they reprinted in heavy metal. That was unique, but most of the great stuff was in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. Absolutely. Phenomenal stuff there. We'll look at more of that as we go along, I'm sure. If there's anything out there that you want us to cover, make sure you let us know. Next Friday, I'm not sure exactly what we'll look at, but we'll look at something great. And this Sunday, we look at Hugo Pratt's Corto Maltese, and we'll do the same thing as well the following Sunday. Great comic stuff. Great stuff out there. As HR says he's back. Michael says, I went to Gene Colan's table in 2009 San Diego Con. Got to tell him how much I loved his work and how important he was to art. There you go, Michael. Exactly. I'm back. Bisley is king. HR says. Thanks, HR. This Corto Maltese. I will be there. It'll be pre-recorded. At least this episode will. Next Sunday's won't be. This Sunday's is pre-recorded. Where is that book? Might be a oh, sorry. Jumble. There we go. Corto Maltese. This Sunday. And next, it'll be great. See you there for that. Sunday Funnies, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Here at the Comic Book Black Belt YouTube channel, Russ's X channel, my Facebook, Twitter.
Russ's X channel sounds like something illegal.
That would be a triple X channel.
Or it sounds like a former channel.
I'm quite happy. Yeah, Twitter.
Yeah.
I'll carry on calling it Twitter. Or Zwitter. Should we call it Zwitter?
Jesse Marsh. He says, yeah.
Zwitter.
We're here every Friday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern Time to show off some great stuff. Comics by night, folks. We do this because we love this art form, and we show off some of the best to hopefully inspire you as well as ourselves and to keep working in this fantastic business that we call comics. Yeah, HR says triple X channel. Yeah. Russ, can you are you ready to tell people where they can find you, or should I go to Glenn?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
There we are. Russ, tell folks where they can find you.
You can find me at russleach.com. Find out all about the Atlantean, the book that we're in production at the moment. It's getting there. It's coming together very, very nicely. There'll be an email out to everybody today. Everybody, bar a couple of people who the postage went wrong with, and we're getting books to them, has had their book. We've had some great reviews about the Shadow Kingdom, and everybody loves it. So we're doing more. We are doing more. The Atlantean is on its way for a September crowdfunder, which will be effectively the fall or autumn issue for 2024, and there will be a spring issue for 2025. So if you want to find out more about that, follow the production, follow us, go to russleach.com and sign up for the email list.
There you go. Glenn, tell folks how they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook and Twitter, and on these podcasts on Friday and Sunday. But if you go to Amazon, you can pick up a copy of my book about Jack Kirby. I went to see him a couple of times at his house in the late 80s and early 90s. Lots of photographs in there of me with him and his wife and all the chat. Check that out. If you contact me, I've also got a film of the event. So you can see me looking 30 years younger and Jack looking fantastic. If you go to Fund My Comic, you'll be able to pick up a copy of my Hatch annotated book, which Hatch is a character of mine. This has got lots of artwork in it, unpublished, some published. Can't see it, can you? Check that out. It's got notes about how he came to be and all that kind of thing. And also, if you go to Amazon, you'll be able to pick up a copy of my magazine, Comics Unlimited, which is a 100-page book about comics, surprisingly, which comes out every now and again. So check it out.
Awesome. And folks, I've been your host, Randy Zimmerman. You can find my work over at arrowcomics.store, where you can find books like Calico of Shard and Alice in Chains, all sorts of different products for you to read and enjoy, most of which are self-contained, so that all you have to do is buy that one and enjoy the story. Calico is continued, though. It's part of a long, epic story. And soon, hopefully within the next month or so, we'll get an issue of The Unforgiven up there for you to read and enjoy. That's a superhero epic that I started, quite a while ago, that I really love. A great story, a great idea. And I'm not saying that out of ego. I just, it's one of those books that everybody that reads it tells me I got to continue it and that there must be more. So we'll see how that goes. Unforgiven coming soon to arrowcomics.store. So we'll see you this Sunday on a pre-recorded broadcast with a little Corto Maltese. Then we'll see you again next Friday. So we'll cover some more great stuff. If you get a chance, go visit your retailer. Go to a so-called comic convention. Look for the comic dealers. We got a convention up here this weekend. They never even bothered to call me to ask me to be a guest here in Flint. So I'm not going. And all of the guests that they've got listed are all anime voice actors. And yet they call themselves a Comic Con. Don't ask me. But I'm not going to be there, folks. I'll be here Sunday morning for Corto Maltese. I'll be back here Friday morning, next Friday for Comics by Night. And we'll show off some more comics. If you have any suggestions, drop us a line. Any of the comment section, make sure you hit that like button. We deeply appreciate everybody stopping by today, and we hope you enjoy this stuff as much as we enjoy showing it off to you. So, anything else we should say? Buy alternative and independent comics, especially ours. Go over to fundmycomic.com. Look for some great campaigns over there. Great variety of stuff. Arrow Comics is exclusive to fundmycomic.com. We run all of our campaigns there. Everybody that works for Arrow Comics all support Fund My Comic and wish it only the best. It's a great site if you want to campaign do your own campaign without corporate interference or the potential of shadow banning and all of that other antisocial stuff. So all of those social platforms aren't very social anymore. So when you go out there, try to talk positively about this business. There's too much drama, too much negativity, too much BS out there. Whisper networks and all that gossip circles and your Gladys Kravitz BS doesn't do anybody any good. It might give you a small temporary dopamine high to troll somebody, but in the long run, doesn't do you any good, and you're right back where you started.
Healthy criticism and discussion about what you think might be wrong with comics industries is one thing, but support comics, support especially indie comics, and if there is something that manages to come out of mainstream that's good, support that. Buy what's good, buy what you love, and say good things about it, because comic books are just the best storytelling medium there is.
Absolutely. And it needs all the help you can give it, folks. Give comics away as gifts for the holidays. The comics that you love, you don't have to. Shouldn't be a hidden secret. If you love Watchmen, give somebody that that would appreciate it, that might not necessarily read comics. Give them a copy. They make great gifts. So, not just Watchmen, but the comics that you love. Go out there and show them off. And there's such a great wide variety. Don't be discouraged by the stuff you see from these corporate companies at the moment. Some of these guys, there's very, 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 very few really golden books out there at the moment that are coming out, and they're hard to find, and they're few and far between. But when you find one, you should let everybody know that you found it, and make as big of a noise as you possibly can in a positive way. Don't just attack something. There's too much money being made out of spite marketing. They stick that nasty Star Wars show up there because they know you're going to hate it. They put this, they make these characters in these corporate comics do stuff you don't like because they know you're going to hate it, and that you'll talk about it online. And in their stupid mind, their stupid sense, they think that that's positive publicity. And really, it's not. It just tears the industry down. You find great comics, tell people about great comics. You find bad comics, it's what
ignore them. Move on.
Paper shredder is for, and just ignore them. We all make mistakes. You're going to buy a bad book every once in a while, but if you keep watching and keep your eyes open, there's some really just phenomenal comics out there. Absolutely great stuff. I think that's it for me. I think that's it for us. We'll see you soon. Take care. We'll see you on the next one.
Yeah.
Buy alternative and independent comics, especially ours. I think I already said that, but thanks so much for being here. We'll see you soon. As soon as he finds something to show you here. Here we are.
Joke's on you, bitch. I love this shit. Oh, you silly, simple bastard.
Bye, Jack. We really shook the pillars of heaven, didn't we, Wayne?
No horseshit, Jack.
No horseshit.
What was that? This is not a charade. We need total concentration. Now, once again, this time, with theory.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Can't nobody tell me nothing.
How dare you?
Get off my lawn. Holy shit. That is the craziest thing I have ever seen. And I'm Dennis Quaid, and Dennis Quaid has seen some shit.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit.